Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, wherever you are. Welcome to Dreamy Dreamland with your Sensei Bob, here to tell you. Last night, I talked to my friend who is always right in history because he has a bachelor's degree in archaeology. So when I told him about Stitchin and other scholars who, have proof that humanity's been around a little longer than the narrative. He goes, "Well, you're just wrong. That's ridiculous." And I said, "Well, that's your opinion, and you can have that." And he goes, "Oh, he's so." That's every time he tells me a definitive thing, I say, "Well, that's your opinion." And me, when I tell him things, I don't even believe him. I'm just telling him so he might go check it out. Like, I told him about dark journalism. Oh, that guy's crazy. Why do I listen to him? Then I told him about Joseph P. Bell, one of the greater living scholars that I know. And he's, he hasn't even looked at him. I've been telling him about it the last, 5 years. Anyway, but he's really enamored with this guy. His name is Scott Ritter.
In the United States, we have a tendency to run our mouths and then try and put together capabilities to match the verbiage. Meaning we talk first.
It's amazing how this guy talks without moving his lips.
Maybe that's a reflection of democracy.
Maybe he's like Pinocchio.
We very rarely.
We don't have a democracy.
Do we enter a discussion?
This guy is 100%. Look where he came from. Defense Department, CIA, United Nations. He's just another ploy boy. He is just the loyal opposition. And he's not even opposition.
These are both very mature bureaucracies. I emphasize bureaucracies because even though we talk about Philip and Zia, these are two very powerful, influential leaders. They represent nations. Whereas in the United States, we have a president whose mouth represents the president. It doesn't represent the nation.
No, he doesn't even. He doesn't even represent that. Right? He represents the unipolar corporate transnational oligarchy. Hey there, Jane. And so here it is, Thursday. I'm waiting for a friend to have lunch. I'm just scrolling through the stuff people have left on my thread. And that was Scott Ritter, which I'm not, I have, I listen to everything everyone says, and I look for interesting points of view. And Scott Ritter, he's famous because he basically was working for, weapons of mass destruction. And he was sent to Iraq. And he was giving cover for the U.S. government to basically go commit genocide. We killed a good million people in Iraq. So, and 9/11 was, Saddam Hussein, it's not the same with our border. We put them in power. Did exactly what we always told. Then there's another person, and this guy I like a little bit more. Putin unleashes most powerful gun. I mean, guys, Putin is working. He's reading the script. So is Xi in China. Nobody is, none of this is, happening in a vacuum, right? And all of this is steering us towards, we already have, a global supply chain, a global environment, a global, and we now have a Supreme Court that's basically destroying the United States, and it's taking all of the guardrails. I mean, the guardrails were never there, but I remember when Roe, back in the 70s, the Supreme Court said, oh, women have the right to do what they want with their body. And all my feminist friends, I said, oh, well, woo. And I said, no, this is, Supreme Court gave, men gave women in America, but it's not even, it's like a temporary moment in time. Because the Supreme Court gave it, the Supreme Court can take it away. And without the Congress delineating what is law, there is no law, right? And so say goodbye to gay marriage. Say goodbye to mixed race marriage. It was, in the 70s, it was against the law for black and white people to marry each other, right? Say goodbye to transgenderness, and that too is meaning. I grew up in New York City. I worked for 30 years in theater in New York City. There are more gay people in the New York theater than any place on the planet. And I built gay bathhouses and nightclubs, and I built theaters for the guys who were drag queens, uptown and downtown, the West Village and uptown, right? And I did a whole bunch of abandoned buildings for gay folk, cultural venues, and so my whole, and virtually, you have to realize human beings, men and women, right? They're not polar. They are the same species, just different genders, and they're on different ends of the scale. And so not everyone is all women, all guy. There's a mix, and that's gay people and LGBTQ, STB, MOUSE. I mean, all of that, all those letters, all it does is give people the opportunity to be separated. Separate and conquer, right? And, there is a real, you don't need to tell a kindergarten about, gender preference, and you don't need to, there are, now again, I worked in hospitals, I was a shrink, so I've had a lot of experience with people having issues with what gender they are, right? But you should let the individual pick and not have them forced as a child to mutilate their reproductive organs, So, so I'm all for everyone having the rights. But see, what we're having right now in the United States and the world is we are heading for, in China, in the United States, we have a credit score. They have a credit score. And that's what makes people, friends of the state or enemies of the state. And if you're an enemy of the state, you just don't exist. So, and this war in Ukraine is going to go on and on and on. So this guy here, I like this guy. He's Canadian, and
there's a line in the New Testament that says, "Resist not evil."
So I mean, look, I'm allowed to speak to you guys, and yes, they definitely put a thumb on my algorithm, so I'm put down on the farm, but that's okay because every time I do a show, I'm not looking for likes, but you can give me more likes. I like those likes, make more comments, and if you want to leave something in my PayPal, you could still do that. Just try and tell PayPal that I'm not working for you. I'm not I'm not offering a service for payment. Whatever money you give me is a gift from you. So state that, because they're trying to say that I'm a business, right? So it's like really, so it's like, come on. So this guy is interesting. Douglas, MACG Regor. He was I played him off of Jimmy Doyle yesterday, and he's quite an interesting guy. Like that machine is working slower than dog. Boom, boom, boom.
Why can't we have a better relationship with Russia? He was sabotaged and subverted. Putin realized that. Then I think he waited to see how Biden responded. And of course, you know that Biden was bragging about how he told Putin that he was a vicious killer and a thug. How proud he was of insulting the man to his face and degrading him and what he's done inside Russia.
That's not diplomacy.
I think you put that
it's
together
reading the
with the
script.
build up in the East, and I think he felt Russia was genuinely threatened, and he thought it was only a matter of time until something akin to the Pershing missiles that we once had on the ground in Germany would show up in eastern Ukraine. And we could all sit here and say, oh, well, that wouldn't have happened. But he had a lot of reason to believe that it would, for the reasons we've already discussed, the NATOization of things. And that's the kind that, remember, the Pershing II was a hypersonic missile. You're talking a few minutes and it lands in Moscow. And he kept telling people this. No one would listen. And there was no willingness to reassure him and his government in any way, shape, or form.
Both sides are working
So I think
two wings of the same
didn't have much
fascist
choice.
corporate bird.
And I think the biggest mistake that he's made, if he's made any with this operation, is I think he's tried to be too careful. And I think it's tragic. But when you do what he's done with his force, you try very hard to avoid unnecessary civilian casualties and avoid damage. You end up in the position he's in. This thing has lasted 3 weeks, longer than he would have liked. It creates opportunities for your enemies, for your opponents to meddle in what's happening. It gives false hope to people on the other side. That's the problem. And that's what he's up against.
So this guy's talking from 3 weeks into the fight. We're now going on to 6 months.
If you try to convince anybody in the United States, by the way,
I mean,
that
we've
Vladimir
given
Putin was remotely
$250 billion
concerned about the loss of
of
civilian
weapons
life
and
in
aid
Ukraine,
to
although laughing
Ukraine.
you off the stage, that's
And,
impossible.
since
It's terrible, bad. It's a lot of nonsense.
Just think what that would have
and he
done
still
for
is like that.
schools, and we could have
I
had
think he
single
would
parent.
like to get an agreement because I don't think
But
he wants
Mitch
anything to do with going into Kyiv.
Women like
that's
Sweden.
the last option. I mean, if you look at it right now, Kharkiv and Kiev are about it. The cauldron has to be dealt with, and they're still laying siege to Mariupol. But I'm afraid, given the enemy that they've cornered there, the 3,000 Azov members, they're probably going to reduce it and be done with it. But that's clearly not what he wants in Kharkiv. That's clearly not what he wants in Kyiv.
Anyway, so that's the narrative. Oh my God, and as that's going on, billions of people are going to starve, and as that's going on, the world economy is going to come crashing down because, we have clowns as our political leadership, Joe Biden, forget about that guy. He's like severely, he's a stepper white, So what can I say? What I can say is that there is a great opportunity for positive change to occur. Right? Georgia Guidestones got the smooth, and and that the Georgia Guidestones have been there for like almost 60 years. I mean, it was put there before the interstate showed up, and they have a exit off the interstate to go see the Georgia. Like, again, this is all scripted. Come on.
So a man who's capable of aggression but has it under control is a way more useful man than one who cannot do that. And so you're willing to go get a job, but you're terrified of an interview. It's like, there's a dragon for you. Because you want to fight. So then the question came to me, do I believe in God? And I don't like
Jordan BP.
and people have complained at me a lot, and I'm sure they have their reasons because they don't like my answers, and I have two answers. They've kind of become stock, which is not a good thing. But they're the best approximate. I can't figure out why I don't like the question exactly. I've got three.
Because it's
three
irrelevant.
sort of
God does not
burgeoning
exist. The
hypotheses.
Holy Spirit
One was,
exists.
it's none
God
of your damn
is an
business.
advertising
That's the first one.
poster
So
boy.
it's like a privacy issue. Like it seemed to me to be a question that was too private to be answered properly. And so, you can consider that a cop out. Maybe it is. And then another one was, well, what do you mean by believe? Like, do you mean the words?
I don't believe in anything. I have
Saying
faith
the words,
in love's
I believe in
co-creation.
God. Does that indicate that you believe in God? Like, I don't know what you mean by believe exactly, because
So here's the boy, Jordan.
people think that it's to clarify the meaning of words in an attempt to escape from the question when it's actually an attempt to specify. I mean,
Real interesting opinions about everything. So go check
or
them
what you act out. Now, I would say to some degree it's both, but if push comes to shove, as far as I'm concerned, what you believe is what you act out, not what you say. And if you're an integrated person, then what you act out and what you say are the same thing. And you're a person whose word can be trusted, right? Because what you say and what you do are isomorphic. They're the same thing. But belief is instantiated in action. So I have also suggested that I act as if I believe in God, but to the best of my ability.
The Tesla pyramid.
According to Nikola Tesla, 369 is the key to the universe. Tesla became so obsessed with this 369 that he would drive around a building 3 times before going inside it. He cleaned his place with 18 napkins, lived in hotel rooms only with the number divisible by 3. He made calculations about things in their immediate environment just to make sure the result was conceivable by 3. And he based his choices on the results. He did everything in sets of 3. What is Nikola Tesla trying to make us understand? We must understand that we did not create mathematics. We discovered them. It is the universal language and law. No matter where in the universe you are, 1 plus 2 will always equal 3. Everything in the universe obeys this law. These forms are in nature, but the ancients emulated these forms in construction.
If Nikola Tesla's obsession was with these numbers, and his goal was to define his location and time and space, could it be possible that ancient humans created monuments like the Great Pyramids to remind us of these truths?
So, no one wants to look at anything that's right in front of their face. So here we are. There's a great opportunity to serve love's co-creation. Not some war, not some dollar bill, not some piece of gold or oil or gender-specific politics or any of the above, right? Anything that separates us is an illusion. We are all our relations. We are here in love's co-creations, which is the burning bush. And what did the burning bush tell Moses? When the burning bush told Moses his name and what he was doing there, he goes, I am a work in progress, and you, meaning humanity, is my reflection. And I am seeing how I'm doing by how you're doing. And we need to do a lot better. We need to, in every day and every way, take the piece of the earth and make it stronger by stepping up to being our best. Hey, Fletch. Long time no see. Good to see you back. Little pebble in the shamanic puddle. Because it's all going to work out. It's just a matter of time, and time is an illusion, right? Yesterday was a day that I experienced that was, every day it's like a miracle. Me waking up from sleep is a miracle, right? As I wake up in tremendous pain because, I basically died in 2014 and came back with the spirit of love's co-creation. Yes, I am good, the Cadre is good, and B, you are good. You are blessed. You are the best. And as long as we realize that we are the best as love's co-creation has made us, in every moment of every day, we can be our best. Not try, do, right? We're not perfect. We won't be perfect, but we can do our best, right? So yesterday was, I had my eyes checked, this I had operated on. And, after a week, they came and, checked it out. And the place I go to, they're very good. But the waiting room is like run by Nazis, right? And the people, and it's not always the same kind of Nazis, but they go to a lot of people. And how they have, and they're still on their, COVID-19 protocols out there, not behind the door where the operating room is. No one wears a mask except in the operating room, but out there, everyone's all masked up, and you don't have to be, but they look at you like you're evil. So I go in, I have these kind of masks that cover from the top of my head to my shoulders, just covers every, can't see me, but it's a very, I can see through it, so I can see, but they can't, and it usually has a fun pattern on it. And so I went in there and she's all messed up. So I said, just wait a minute. I put the thing over my head. So my appointment was for, 12:50, right? I got there at the door at 12:48, right? And so like, what's your name? I told him my name. What's your date of birth? I gave him that. And she goes, I can't find you. I said, and then I had the appointment slip in my hand. I said it, the name of the business, the address, where to go, what doctor, my name, the code number for who I am in their system. I said, there it is, just type in that code. Really? What about this? It's not on my screen. And then I just, tried to coax her into just sending me on. And she just wanted to, be anal retentive and in control. So first I used my inside voice, like being very cordial and nice. And then I used my more authoritarian voice, which is not any louder by the dB, but it goes into your gallbladder, right? So she started feeling, and then I used my little Jiminy Cricket voice. So I just kind of didn't get too close, didn't want to get in her space, but I said, you are useless. Your whole life, you've known you're useless. Your parents told you were useless. Your teachers told you were useless. And that's why you act this way, to control. I mean, I can see what you've done to everyone in this waiting room. And I just said a few more things about her inner self, and she screamed and ran out the door. She went through the parking lot, across the street, up the hill, and just kept going. And then I sat down, I looked at the screen and I hit enter. Because there I was. I mean, all the stuff that was on that piece of paper was on her screen. All you had to do was hit enter. So I hit enter, I sat down, and then someone at the desk called me up. Said, you owe us $300. I said, no, I don't. I'm paid in full. And I pulled out another. They said, see, here it is, the receipt showing that I owe nothing. She goes, well, you're not going to get operated. You're not going to be seeing the doctor unless you give us some money. And I said, not a problem. So I pulled out $10 from my pocket. I said, here, I can give you $10. I said, and I used my oratory voice, and I said, so everyone in the building can hear, I want to see the manager, the boss, the person who's in charge of this incompetent, again, I moved in, not getting into her space, but telling her who she was, and she got very upset. I don't like the way you're talking. So I said, okay, come back here. And then I talked like a 3-year-old, right? And then, she's like about to lose her shit, and so she just, again, she didn't run out of the building, but she turned around and walked in the back. And that's when my doctor came out and said, come on, leave these people alone. Come with me. And normally the doctor never comes in the front. She sends one of her folks. So she takes me to a room, puts me in it where there's the head nurse, like Nurse Ratched. And Nurse Ratched at least is beyond competent. She's an Aries. She's in charge. And so, I just watch everything she does, look at all her body language. And then, she checks me out. She says, "Oh, you're doing great," and she does everything. And so we're walking. She's going to take me to the next place. I have to wait. And I said, "Here, let me look at," and I see all the other nurses lined up in the hallway. There's about 8 of them, right? And she's the head one. She's the overseer of all these other nurses. And so I read her palm, and she's like, I just keep telling her stuff about her, and mostly from what I observe of her, checking me out. And I say a few choice things, and all the girls start laughing. And she looks at them like with a look, and then she smiles. She goes, "No one's ever talked to me like this. Not even the boss, not even the head doctor, your doctor. And no one's ever talked to me this way." And she goes, "I like it. I like you." It's it, and I like you. She goes, "I like you because you're not even, you're like nice, and you're not scared, and you're not wanting to be combative, and you just want to be supportive of me having my way, and I like you." So I turned to the girls. I said, "Girls, now this is how you have to, deal with your boss here." I said, "Okay." I just went down the road. Just boom, 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 boom. So after that, everyone on that side of the doorway was happy, right? So then I went into this other place where they use these machines to look way deep into my eye, make sure nothing's really wrong with anything. And I'm in there, knock on the door. And the head bookkeeper lady, the manager lady, who I said, "I want the manager." She comes in and she goes, "Listen." And she hands me my $10 back. And she goes, "From here on in, you owe us nothing. Whenever you come in here, it will always show zero balance. No matter what we do to you, what process, whatever, what medicine, you never owe us a nickel." I said, "Good, thank you very much." And she gave me a piece of paper that stated that. That stated that no matter where I was in that process, she said, "Just show this and it will shut those people up." I said, "Did you find a lady who ran out the door and across the parking lot, across the highway and up the hill?" She goes, No, and I don't think we're going to go looking for her either. We bagged up her stuff and put it by the side of the door." And so, my doctor comes in. She gives me the good to go. We talk about, because I'm going to have the next operation in 2 weeks. And we talk, and she's, we talked about her kids and this and that and all this stuff. That's what she likes. She likes to ask me questions so I can give her solid feedback, right? And so that was that. And, so I left there, and I went over to Home Depot to look for a tool, and everything was up by 40%. A 8-foot 2x4 cost $11. The last time I bought one, it was 68 cents. And that was a couple of years ago, but still, come on. So all of this is, and going to the supermarket. When I used to spend $15 on, now costs, I used to, during the pandemic, I got 200 and change and food stamps. They dropped me down to $48. And the church I go to, they used to give meat and all kinds of stuff. Now it's just donuts and bread and nothing else. Eggs used to cost 89 cents a dozen, and now they cost $6. So there's something afoot here. So What can I say? So anyway, I left Lowe's, and everyone I talked to in Lowe's they didn't even know what gender or what species they were. Ah, yeah, a little more hot coffee. Yeah, yeah. Just waiting for my bud for lunch. I'll have my second lunch. Did you ever watch The Hobbits? You know, Lords of the Ring or any of that? No. They're these little guys, and they'll have like 6 breakfasts. Really? Yeah, yeah. So that's like me. Ah. So I went and did, because I just don't do one thing. I have to do a bunch of stuff. So I went to the bank. I went to this place around here. Gas is like $4.60, $4.70. Where there it's $4.19. So I was just had a quarter tank left, and so I went to fill up the tank. So did that, did a few other things, and I just kept bumping into folks who were unconscious. Right? So I said, screw it, I'm just going to go home. And so I went the back way, and as I drove into the access road of the back way, I became unconscious. And I went, just did a whole bunch of things, and I didn't even see this car. That kind of like spat around me and like growled at me, and thank you, babe. Yep. And so, I kind of pulled off the, let him get by, and he flew by, and then all of a sudden there was speed on by. And he goes, how come you just didn't speed up? And I said, what? I said, well, I've been watching this guy, and he's on our red list of somebody who might do something terrible, right? So we're keeping an eye. And you could have easily been, the first victim. What? And so he goes, license, so I gave him everything, and he goes, your car insurance? I said, yep. He goes, and in our state, it's the insurance thing is connected to your license, so they can tell right away. So he goes, well, I'm going to give you a citation, but if you do have insurance, I'll let you go. And I said, okay. So I came back, and we had a nice conversation, and told, asked him who he was, what he was, and I said, he told me blah blah blah. I said, so you married? Yes. You got kids? Yes. How many kids you got? One. Now they're on the way. And I said, so who you really are is dad. What you really need to do is not get all caught up in the police thing. You need to be there for your kids. And I said, you are not the average policeman. You had this, instead of just being a robot and giving me a citation, you talked to me, and we talked, and and because you didn't have to give me a citation, and so you didn't. So I thanked him for pulling me to the side and telling me that, because what it really did was made me aware that I was unconscious. Like I said, I'm a moron 40% of the day, right? And so it made me say, okay, now every time I'm behind the wheel of this car, I'm conscious intent I am. Conscious intent I am. I'm not, going anywhere else with that. So it's like, it's a good thing. That so everything, even though a good portion of all those things were annoying and could have been catastrophic, I realized that, okay, thank you, God, for all of what I've experienced today. It's all been a blessing. You've all put it on my agenda so I can be awake, not awoke, awake. And so, I just kind of realized that, and that being more consciously aware and consciously intent. And that's what we all do. And that is the great opportunity that stands in front of us with all this craziness going on. And when you put things in conflict, things are no more crazy today than they ever have. Like I said, 1970s when New York City went bankrupt, it was way more crazy than this. And so we have to be consciously aware of what we're doing and where we are and where we're going. And that's where it's got to be. So let's see what you guys are saying. What do you feel? Okay, Jamie. Foghorn. Don't give no, never mind about believe. When you see, say you believe, I'll believe. And believe means not to know. Yes. Thank you, Foghorn. Indeed. That's horrible. No, it was a good day yesterday. I didn't end up dead. I didn't end up arrested. I didn't end up, any of these things, right? And so that the lady who was the gatekeeper, who I just kind of whispered into her ear, and she freaked out and ran across the highway. She didn't get hit by a truck, so that's good. God knows what happened to her after she went over the hill. But and everyone in that waiting room who she tormented looked at me like, I wish I could have done that. Oh, gee, thank you. I mean, this one guy shook my hand. The little kids who he must have been an ex-nun, they almost started to cry, but they were like so messed up. I mean, these kids they were in wheelchairs and, they couldn't see, they just were. So anyway, that was quite interesting. Right? And that's what I do, I'm a cheeky monkey, I don't cause but I enable, I am the art party ringleader, cultural provocateur, right? So what else do we have that we can look at here? That's good. John sent us a note. And his last texts have been kind of off the hook. Now, I was hyped up on caffeine again. Finally quit. Today was amazing, calm and beautiful outside picking berries. There you go. I keep telling him, up and around the school, a ton of blackberries. Mental ease. Let's see. Let's give John Boy a call. What he's got going. Boop, 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 boop. Okay. Let's try somebody else. Let's try our sweetie. Our sweetness. Hey there. There you are.
How you doing? Right?
I had just had my first lunch. I arrived. Dee's party this weekend.
Oh, I don't really want to, but because I don't.
Oh, why not? You should go and have a great time.
I'm just not a party person. Like,
Oh, come on. Whenever you and I get together, it's a party.
right. But it's also friction. But anyway, yeah, I'll go.
Yes. And have a good time, you know. I can't be there. I have no money for gas. I would be if I could. But I will be there in spirit, and I will do my best to keep it from raining. So
Right. Oh, good.
that's my gift to the party. I'm pretty much done with the Roanoke because I wired myself in medically down here well enough, so I don't really need to go up there. And I have no real place to stay, and there's nothing for me really to do because I just continually see the same thing, the same old same going on. I mean, there are, and part of that same old thing is that there's always something new and exciting on the horizon. I mean, the 20 years I was there with you and the gang, there's always something really pretty amazing going on. So, it's not.
Oh yeah. We just need more. We need more advisors, conflict resolution training, communication training, trust building workshops. It's just really sad to see so many opportunities, and then all it takes is one person interpreting something negatively instead of seeing the opportunity, and the effects roll down. And it's,
Well, you have to use the theory of the Stalinist obstructionist. When I was involved in the anti-nuclear movement, I mean, especially when we were up against commercial nuclear power plants, there was tons of infiltrators doing that exact thing.
Well, these aren't infiltrators. These are good people without training, and they still got their trauma, emotions taking over, during a meeting.
Well, we had the same thing, but those guys were doing that. And what we had to do was, anyone who's wearing that on their sleeve, very obvious. So you need, just like
I don't know those people, but I do know.
that are, the Longhouse. They had a gatekeeper, vibe watcher, the person taking notes, and the facilitator, right? So in every time you have a group of people come together, you have to sit in a circle. You have to do ceremony first to get everyone's mojo up, and then have everyone express themselves before you even hit the agenda. And then you say, okay, if you're going to stay in the circle, you have to agree to not be an obstructionist. If you can't agree, your consent, then you have to leave the circle. You have to show that respect for yourself and for everybody else. And if you set up protocols like that, that cuts the problem off right at the top. And it gives everyone the ability to express themselves to be honest and free with all of their feelings. And like I said, sit in a circle, do ceremony, and then go in the circle. Let everyone express whatever conflict or trauma they may have, and that this meeting is not only just to discuss the what you're going to discuss, but to help everyone heal so they can be a better person who's making their community better. And
Yeah. So that's definitely a good model. It works really good with some groups, but I've noticed in other new groups that I'm involved in, it's just not that
not so much, not so easy.
Right. And they're afraid anything that they say is going to be spread throughout the community, and so there's no way anybody's going to actually say what they're really thinking, and which is unfortunate because.
Well, that's what's needed. That's what's needed.
Yeah. But I was just recently called a white overseer, so from a person that,
Well, that's you. That's you, my friend. That's you.
No, they said it like a slave owner.
You are the light overseer. You're the best light overseer I've seen. You just need to have more confidence in yourself.
Yeah, but it came out as if I'm the white slave owner controlling the group. It was just one person and their bad behavior.
No, I know what you're saying. A good example was that event that happened at the library. You were there trying to show people how to make dream catchers, and people, and then the people who took it over. I mean, they kind of had their heart in the right place, but their own trauma and ego and storytelling just took over. And I understand this because I do that.
That's everything I'm reading right now, and all the professors are saying we have to back out. We can't be we have to let the marginalized folks take center leadership roles. It's confusing because some of them don't have experience training, but I totally understand the concept, the need, because we got hundreds of years of us always making center. So it's tricky.
But that's why protocols are pretty good. That's why the Longhouse, I use the Longhouse protocol, and it's been around 1,000 years. And I use it for every kind of meeting that I am shunted into helping put together. And I use it here out in the sticks where people,
But you also have to have people that are willing to, if I want to, can't force it. That's what I'm saying. People that are tired of other people not imitating.
I mean, you can kind of force it in a way in that if you want to get a certain thing done, right? And you put out the call that we're going to talk about getting this certain thing done. And that's, and you have somebody at the door saying, okay, we're going to have an agenda. You can add things to the agenda. But in the discussion, we cannot have anyone who's going to be an obstructionist. You can bring up your concerns, you can communicate, but you can't stop the whole group just because you feel this way. And if you can't not do it, then you can't come in. And if you set up from the very beginning that protocol, then it's not, it's what it is. And they can either come in and be part of the community and be respectful, and they can say what they want to say, but they can't be obstructionistic. And because that stops the whole flow of getting anything done. And whether they are a plant or whether they're just somebody who has this in them, it's up to the rest of the folk to decide whether they really want to get something done or whether they just want to go through the moves, right? And Because at a certain point, unless you can get things done, you're going to be burnt out and disgruntled. And Polly, you are the most positive person I know. I've seen, I've known you 20 years, give or take, and you never let anything quite get you down because you always have a plan B of doing something fun. Let's dance in a circle. And it breaks that restrictive energy. And now you're kind of been doing this forever, and so it's taking a toll, and you have to, just for you, work up some protocols. I mean, that's what I do. One of the reasons why I'm a cheeky monkey is to break those kind of resistance and things of being stuck, right? And yes, I can get stuck, but I do my best to be aware of that. My yesterday was sent from God to heaven because I just went through one event after another that I could have easily gotten killed, murdered, arrested, or whatever. And no, I learned, okay, I can do this and do that. And everything worked out okay because I wasn't letting myself get stuck. Yes, I was being stupid here and there. I was being a moron here and there, but I realized it quite quickly. And if the apology worked, I would do it. If not, I'd let it ride. And it was a learning day for me yesterday, and it was a great blessed day. So what was that?
Where when don't understand, they have their own way of processing, which is not like me at all. I feel bad. I feel ashamed almost that I caused good trouble in my world to connect good things, but in their world, just leads to more trouble.
Well, if they can be open to learning, they can see the dynamic and they might get something from it, but it shouldn't shame you or force you to be anything other than who you are, because you're great. Your track record is amazing. So don't let it get you down, because I sense it's getting you down a little bit.
Yeah, it has. And what I thought was happening, he removed the obstacle person. But now, 3 weeks later, the obstacle person is kind of in charge of everything.
that occurs because they don't have the respect to be self-reflective. They don't have the position to be able to be the we and me. It's only about them.
Right.
And the only way a group can work is if it's the we and me.
I know, but they were so good about turning everybody else against me, basically. It kind of ended up being this weird me against her.
Right.
She's the elder, and she kind of twisted the original conversation about, and the next thing I know, I'm like fixing it.
You're an easy target.
Right?
I mean, that's it, straight up. So you need to be. I mean, I'm like the wind. People can shoot at me all the time, and it just kind of goes through me. It doesn't bother me. My Aquarius. My nature is when someone says mean or hurtful or violent or stupid things to me, I don't go, oh, boo hoo hoo. I go, why did they say that? What's the motivating force? What jujitsu move can I use to rectify this and make it better? And you're just going to have to learn a little jujitsu. That's all.
Yeah, well, I mean, I did, and for all I know, the other people, are cheering me on maybe, I don't know, because I did, I didn't do what I normally would do, which would be like, be quiet, walk away, shrug, like, oh, well, these people are not willing to learn. But I turned and I mirrored back at the lady. Oh my God, I've never yelled at somebody like that in a long time.
Well, yeah, your gorilla instincts just came around.
Yeah, I mean, luckily I didn't say anything mean. I just said, you know,
Right.
I don't want when you look at me with disgust in your eyes, like I'm the white person here.
Right.
And anyway.
Well, and then you can understand, so around me, which is all white, but what's truly interesting, the largest cohort of population growing here is Hispanic folk, like across the United States. And they're the ones who are doing all the hard work. They're the ones who are starting new businesses and hiring lazy white people. And so the lazy white people are going on about how they don't want their history changed. They won't be replaced. I said, buddy, told this to these guys the other day. I said, listen, you are already replaced. You're replacing yourself. All you do is sit around, drink beer, and smoke herb, and complain. Where these other people, they go out and do the job. Work really hard for 5 or 6 years, save their money, start their little dream business, and grow.
Right.
They're doing the American dream.
Yeah.
And I mean, there's one Mexican restaurant right here. It's really great in that it's super duper traditional because, like I said, the largest population group is Hispanic. So it's like a Hispanic general store and a restaurant. So all of their food is like straight up from grandma's up in the mountains. Grandma's right there making the tortillas and the favelas and everything. And everybody eats there because it's really good. And they don't charge. They charge about half of what the corporate, like what Taco Bell charges, right? And anyway, this guy was going on about Hispanics and how terrible they are and lazy and the blah, blah, blah. And I look at him. I said, what are you talking about? And he goes, well, blah, 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 blah. And I said, no. I've known you. I eat have lunch here all the time, and you're here, and these people are the people you're complaining about, and they're making your food. He goes, well, these people aren't Hispanic. They're not from the border. And Grandma looks at him and just starts, giving it to him in Spanish, and the granddaughter is like translating. It's like NPR, Grandma's like letting him have it, and the granddaughter is translating it for the white guy. That's hilarious because, this was the essence of hypocrisy. He eats there all the time. He's, and then he complains about them, right? It's like,
Yeah.
So anyway, the way, you're an artist, over the years, the only way I deal with all of this is through art, and you do a great job at that, so just keep, just let it, when people do that, it's, and the other thing to do is go over and give her a hug and go, I love you. I love you. I love you. And anyone who's like really stuck and being a obstructionist, they can't take it. They just can't take it.
Right. I know. I should have done that. I've been walking on eggshells.
Well, just practice it. Do it. I mean, come on. How long have you known me? Have I ever? I'm always. I'm not the same, but I'm me, and that's how I deal with people. They can either deal with it or not, and I'm not mean or cruel or any of the above. I just do what I do, and 98% of the time it works out for the best. Like I said yesterday, I had a real amazing thing, and about 8 different times I could have been shot or arrested or a lot, and it all worked out for the best. And I learned, oh, okay, won't do that again. Okay, I'm going to be more awake. I'll be conscious aware. I mean, my prayer, my two major mantras.
Conscious awareness, I am.
Yes, exactly. Conscious of where I am. Conscious of where I am, right? And conscious intent I am. Meaning,
Right.
I put that into everything I do. Cooking, gardening. Boy, my garden's starting to take off now. So,
Yeah. Well,
So-
that's why those are great phrases to bring up as a kind of a lead-in, because so many people that I'm working with in the marginalized community don't have experience with all the theology and global teachings that some of us are aware of.
yeah, but I would say most of them, even the younger ones have a grandma, have gone to church, have had, the Black community, the poor community has had a deep, deep experience. That was the only thing they had as their life jacket, was a faith in God's love, right? No matter how
Yeah,
bad it was.
But it's a separation. They weren't taught personal how to be creators, right? That would be almost blasphemous. So it's a strange separation of understanding about the power of intention and belief.
Well, again, by teaching through example, not by liturgy or text, but by example, that goes a long way,
Yeah.
And not even to get stuck in theology or terminology, just to by example, right?
Right. Yeah. Exactly.
Because
That's going on, and I'm having my little philosophical.
your late midlife crisis.
Right.
Yes, baby. This is only the mid part of your life. It's not over yet.
Right. No, I'm very grateful to be alive during these times, and not having passed away before entering this whole new phase.
And this is a time of great opportunity. It really is,
Yeah.
And
Well, that whole concept that's experienced and understood by me, and as an artist, that through mistakes or through conflict, through opposition or problems, that usually always find a new way of looking at it, and maybe even a better or just another
right,
good thing.
right.
That's not a concept that these folks are used to. It's very business.
Again, you just have to lead by example, and not say, "Oh, we have to do that." Just lead by example. Just go up and do it. That's what I do. I don't wait for consensus. I just go up and do it. Right. And if it's, and I know right away if it's appropriate or not. Meaning, and all the things I've been involved with, around you. I don't take over. I don't. Yes, I have a larger than life presence sometimes, but I don't take over. I don't really. I can step on people's toes, but not physically. They may just get upset by my presence, but I don't do anything to challenge their authority, except by being there and being me, and not being swayed by their opinion.
Right.
When I used to be at the library, surrounded by all these retired doctors and lawyers and college professors, and they were driving their Lexuses and wearing super fancy clothes, and I was like looking like a homeless guy. They were truly upset because whenever they would tell me something, I would say, "Well, that's a nice opinion." It's not an opinion. It's my belief. I said, "Well, then that's a nice prejudice." And so they would and they would constantly try and show me that I'm wrong. And I said, "Oh, well, okay, this is my opinion. Now, why don't you go ask Google. And because they were stuck into the church of Google, they just spent like $3,000 for the newest iPhone. They would ask their smartphone, and they would always be proven wrong by Google and that I was right. And it would just like annoy them. So they would come back every day for like a year to try and prove me wrong. And the librarian, it was where, it's not the new South County Library anymore, but that one over there where I was, that had the coffee shop that's no longer there. She put seats around in circle. So she goes, this will be always your chair, and the people can come and ask you questions. It was like the Sears circle. And so all these guys who thought they were top dog, were, no, the homeless guy always has an opinion that, Google agrees with. So, so I didn't argue with anybody. I would just say, well, this is my, don't believe a word I say. Ask Google, but this is my opinion. And I wouldn't ever say believe. I said, this is my opinion. And, it would be interesting. And that's the only way I can suggest for you to deal with it. Just lead by example. Don't have to have, and whoever follows your example, well, that's, they'll learn from them, well, Polly did that and I'm going to try that. And then they would learn from it, right? But most people are so comfortable with their misery that they don't want to change anything. Right? They're kind of comfortable and satisfied with their misery. And that is, a stock and trade of the ruling class manipulating the masses. Noam Chomsky's, manufacturing consent is a good primer on all of that. And many, many other people have written. Chris Hedges has published some really excellent things on just what you're talking about. And, but, that's for you to read and then to express by your leading by example. And that's what Jesus did. That's what all the saints ever did. They weren't waiting for the liturgy or the church or anybody to tell them otherwise. They just went and did it. And either they were burnt at the stake or, were deified as a sacred person. So all I can say is that just keep doing what makes you happy and brings you bliss, because when you're in bliss, when I'm in bliss, from my experience, that's when I'm most successful. That's when people don't really question, they just look at me and go, wow, he's so happy. He's like, yeah, okay, maybe I'll try that. And there are a lot of people who are, you think you got it bad. I'm surrounded by folks who are armed to the teeth and ready to kill you if you don't agree with them. And you're not quite at that place yet.
If I wanted to stay in bliss, I wouldn't be doing this.
Well, that's why I live in the woods, and I just come out every now and then.
Right.
But it's becoming very obvious to me that I have to go on the road and take this message to many more people. I affect, whenever I go out, I affect 5 to 20 people every time I go out. And that's a good thing, right? So that's my. What was that? I can't move your phone or talk in the microphone. I'm not hearing you.
Sorry, I didn't realize you weren't hearing me all this time.
No, well, just I tell right away when I can't hear you. But now you're coming in 5 by 5. So you were saying. Yeah.
I was just saying. I apologize. I forgot you were still on the long list of things to contribute to people. Forgot to send you some more.
Well, that's always appreciated. And if they ask you whether this is a donation or a gift or you're buying something, because PayPal thinks I'm a business and wants to tax me. I mean, I've only received $140 since January, and they're like, "So you're a business, and you have to put in the I-16-4 form," and I'm like, "What?" And I took it to my bank, and they said, "Oh no, this is just them trying to get more information out of you. Just ignore it." And the lady at the bank said, "If there's a place that says donation or gift, you can hit that little icon. If there's not, forget it. It works. Since they started hassling me, people still send me money, and it still gets into my bank, and so it's still there." But my bank lady said, "No, these guys are just fishing," and she goes, "It's really annoying because it's not even criminals doing this anymore. It's like corporations are being criminal, doing the same thing that like criminals do."
Yeah, I know. I just one of the families whose son was shot in Roanoke, or another one, somebody advised them to do a GoFundMe, and I know that there was a great fear about doing that, not just because of the unknown government or corporate response, but because of other people seeing it and going, "Well, why is she doing that?" Or,
Right.
"Well, her family doesn't deserve it any more than my family," or, "Why
Right.
is she asking for that?" All that. But she took a deep breath and went ahead and shared it with me, and then I carefully, before sharing, asked, "Is it okay? You don't feel like you're really in any danger from the kids that shot your son, or if I share it?" She's like, "Well, I doubt they'll ever know. They'll ever see who you share things with. So go ahead." And I did, and it ended up raising, I think, $600 more for her. But then all of a sudden it stopped. When I went to go and check, it had been closed down.
Why?
So now I'm wondering, did something bad happen? What? And I don't know if I should reach out, because sometimes these folks don't really want to tell me what really happened.
Right.
They're embarrassed, or they're afraid that, to admit that something that I did actually was at first helpful, but then caused harm. It's so, oh my gosh.
Well, churches have been dealing with this for a long time because they're a business. So, loose. You just have to look what a church does. They just blithely steam straight ahead.
Right.
You don't let anything bother them. It's the work of God. It's like they just keep going. So,
Right. Right.
And that is one of the issues that people have to step into, and that is they have to have it in their heart. And if it's in their heart and they feel it right, then it's okay. Period.
Yeah, but they're also marginalized people who get screwed really easily if some asshole decides to give them trouble.
Right.
And they're targeted.
Right.
So
that's why you have to have a community. And it's really interesting. I have literally nothing. When you have nothing, you got nothing to lose, like that song goes. And the other thing is, when you have nothing, you're amazingly grateful for the little that you do have. And I have, compared to other people, I have lots. I have a garden, that feeds me. I have a forest that feeds me. I have animals. All the rich people are being attacked by bears. And the bear come over and, want me to scratch their ears. Like one of the rich guys called me up, there's a bear on my, and I went over there and there was a bear. And, I said, "Herbie, what are you doing? Come on." And he had got himself, it was a bear garbage can, to keep the bear from going in there. And he got himself stuck in it.
In it?
In the can.
The bear?
Yes. I mean, he didn't rip off the top or open up the door. He pried it just so he could get his head in there, and he got so intense in eating this stuff, he wasn't thinking about how he was going to. So he ate himself into it to the point that he couldn't get out of it. Right, and my neighbor, he has the videotape of it. Right, he had. That's why he called me up, because he said, "There's a bear over there. I am scared to come out. I don't want to, Anyway, so I went over there and got the bear out of the can, and he ate everything. And so he looked at me and was like, "Thanks."
Right?
And he just kind of walked away. And the guy said, "How did you do that?
Right?
The bear was right." I said, "That's Herbie. He comes and goes to sleep on my deck, and he never messes anything up. He doesn't because I put stuff over in the corner for him to eat, and so he knows there's nothing on my deck or in my kitchen for him to eat. And so, and all the other animals know that too.
Yeah, well, now he knows that you're willing to.
Oh, I've got him out of other. I mean, he is kind of a futz. But, any other person would say, you're not supposed to do that with a bear. I mean, but he's a really little guy. He's not a gigantic bear. He's about the size. Remember how big Bella was? I mean, he's a little chunkier than Bella, but he's about that same size.
Oh, okay.
So he's not a gigantic bear. He's a little black bear. And he's not a pup either. He's been around a while. So, but anyway, that's, again, keeping that belief in your heart, and then it'll work out. If not, the bear kills me. What better way, that'd be a good way to go.
Yeah, no. If more people were aware of the natural world relations and lessons, yeah, they could see the human conflicts much more easily or sensitively.
Well, they would see that the human conflicts are manufactured. There is no organic reason for it to be happening, except it's being manufactured. And you're either being played, even if you think you are doing this to get over it, you're still being played.
Right.
Right? And you might have this conversation, about being played, what's going on, da-da-da-da,
Yeah, because that affects everything. That's why they can look at me.
Right.
And then when something's triggered,
right.
all they see is the next service person screwing them.
Right. And that's not the story.
Yeah.
That's not what's going on. So, so I still have scholastics calling me up and, wanting me to talk about this and that. And then they get really upset. When I talk about what's going on in the Ukraine and world events, I say this is a basically scripted show. What's going on in Ukraine makes no sense when you look at it the way it's being described on MSNBC, right? No, it's not a continuation of the Cold War, blah, blah, blah. No, it's other, and it's the hidden hand that runs everything. And it's, Vlad and Biden and all those guys get put in there to read the script. They're not writing the script. They're reading.
I know. That's why, gosh, you get service providers who are willing to say, I know I don't want to do this, but this is what I have to do to check the box. Or sometimes I kind of get around it by doing this. And then the other people, those people who get services who've been screwed, can see some of those providers are at least trying. Whereas there are the ones who just like to be mean. But
well, that was me yesterday in my eye hospital. The people on the outside, who were the gatekeepers, were just petty bureaucrats and just started the job, and they were getting off on tormenting people. And
that part I don't understand.
Within psychotherapy, there are people who are traumatized to a point where they, the people who are bullied become the bullies,
Right. Yeah. That's a good topic. That's an easy topic for kids or adults.
Right. So someone made a comment about bears. They say bears pin you down and eat you alive they start with your soft tissue. That's, you know. But the deal about whenever you're doing anything, if you do, like I have my 3 rules: doctor, do no harm, do not get involved unless you have a workable exit strategy, right? So when I got, I just popped the lid off of the can that the bear was stuck in, and I had my car between him and me, and before he could get out of the can, I got in my car. So
Right.
yeah, I wasn't like going, "Oh, come here, baby. Oh, let me rub your tummy." No, I didn't quite do that. I just got him out of the can, and and he was happy to get out of the can and run away.
Exactly. Yeah.
Right. So that's So you do not get involved unless you have a workable exit strategy, right? And you're going in to free the innocent. And the other one is don't get involved unless you can learn something from this scenario, right? So, and most people don't do any of the above. They do all kinds of harm without even knowing they're doing it.
Yeah. Or even take a good lesson and turn it
Right.
sideways. That these people are always like this, blah blah blah, as opposed to learning. Oh yeah, I can do it a different way.
Right. Exactly. And so those are my 3 rules, and they serve me quite well. And so of course, I didn't, roll in the hay with the bear. I had to, car between him and me, and I just unlatched the top so he could get out, and then I got in my car. Right? And like he wasn't thinking about me. He was thinking about getting the heck out. He had eaten everything in the garbage pail, and he just wanted to get out of there, and he shot up the hill and out into the woods. So, that's kind of how you have to go. So,
Yeah, and I found a new artist in town, a Ghanaian African master drummer,
right?
who, since the pandemic, wasn't able to tour the world with his bigger company,
Right.
who must have brought him over from Africa to begin with. Now he said, this is my first job in the factory here at Roanoke. I wish I could find more students. Can you help me find more students? So I've been pursuing that as best I can. And,
Well, boy, that's what the drum circle definitely needs. Some guy like him.
well, the trick, of course, is that he just wants he wants to be himself, a professional drummer, and everybody pay $10 or whatever, $10 to
Well,
the class.
I wouldn't limit it to $10. What I would say is everyone should give what they can give. The people who are, have more money, that they can throw in $20 and it's not a big deal, right? Other people,
Okay.
buy.
Maybe I should make a little sign on the basket so when people do show up, everybody can get that lesson.
Right.
Okay.
Because when we did the No Fear Cafe, right?
Right.
Tim said, "Oh, we got to charge." I said, "No, it's a donation. We can't ask for a specific sum. It's no longer a donation, and then we're gonna have to get with the tab. But we donate, and I would go around with a bucket, and jingle it next to the judge and the lawyer, and the food was so good, man. They didn't, they threw in $50,
Right.
So those ladies, within the second week, they were going home with about $1,000 a day, and they hired 5 other people. They didn't need to hire them, but I said, hire as many people as you can, and why don't we try and hire? Because we had a lot of homeless people come and eat. And they would throw in what they could, $1 or 50 cents. And Tim said, "Oh, we can't have these people. They're not giving." I said, "Tim, this is donation. They need it more than anybody. They're being really righteous by giving whatever they can." And so, but that's why. And I told the old ladies, I said, "Ladies, save every nickel you can. I'm going to steer you to the rich guys because at a very short period of time, people of this church will get tired of this, you know, and they'll get just like they got tired of black people and poor people and different people coming to their church, you know.
Yeah.
And that's why they asked me to leave because I was spinning that place up way too much, you know.
Mhm.
So, and what's happening to it now? What did it, you know, get turned into a coffee shop, or what happened to that church? Because I know Tim died.
I haven't been back around. I
Right.
don't know. I've seen random letters for fundraising, and I assume they were doing a summer project, continuing with those housing flips. But I don't know. I don't know.
Right. But when I was there, one of the things I did was I went to every church in the city of Roanoke to try them to work together to help the poor. And there was two churches that said, yeah, that's a great idea. One was the Catholic Church, the one that has the school and the big organ and the big cathedral at the top of the hill there, kind of downtown, that big Catholic church there.
Yeah.
They were up for it, and they are a very generous church. And the other church that's kind of over near Franklin and maybe 3rd Street, where they have that Friday coffee, clutch, and people play music.
Oh, right, the 3rd Street coffee house, the white.
Yeah.
Folk people.
It's kind of almost in a basement, but not. And the inside looks like it was a log cabin. It's like a very strange place. But those people are really, really try. And I tried to reconnect with the Quakers. And once they moved, it kind of changed their everything.
Well, the Quakers, the white activists, faith leaders, I don't know, man. We need to have an encounter session.
I mean, I would be happy to come and spend time in Roanoke. I have no place to stay. No one's, you got rid of the couch. Darlene maybe, but she likes her private space. And how's she doing?
Well, that's why I keep dreaming that you're gonna be part of this land trust, new way of thinking about ownership and sharing spaces. And people hear about it, but they don't really know what it means. So they know what it means as far as like sharing. So, a family just got kicked out, so we're going to share our house.
Right.
But as far as like planned future rethinking of housing and land ownership, that's still very doable here in Roanoke as far as somebody or somebody's, and a few people are doing it as examples. In Floyd, of course, ongoing.
So is anyone, is the housing stock, is there still a good number of semi-abandoned buildings?
Yeah.
Right. Well, a good example is, Captain Monica, me, and the,
I know. Yeah,
we had it down. We were going to march straight into it, and the Mission and Goodwill and Hat and Tap got all up and like I had all the numbers and I was doing the PowerPoint, and at a point Monica, she was like a truck driver. She just cursed those guys out.
That's part of this new phase. People coming to awareness and not being, or maybe being a little bit more open to not shrugging their shoulders and turning away, but saying, okay, well, right, back in the 70s, people used to talk about this, okay, it's not a stupid hippie thing, it's actually a smart idea.
Right. And every time
your
done.
Experience with the officials
Right.
is big,
Right.
And the police chief,
Right.
And, those experiences that you can actually say worked.
Right. And that, New York, once we did it with Soho, then we did it with Tribeca, then we did it with you know,
Yeah.
this
But
place. And then,
the people that you work with
Right.
already trusted you or
Right.
already had experience.
right, they
under
saw what we
their
did.
belts.
And so when we went big time with the apartment buildings, when there were, hundreds of thousands of people in New York homeless, and we were putting families and kids and moms, and then they owned their property. And then, as 30 years later, I left New York in '88 and came back in 2011. And all of the Lower East Side was like super duper, like Park Avenue. And instead of being owned by rich people, it was owned by all those homeless people. And
Amazing. Just so amazing.
and
Amazing.
they built their own economy. And like I said, I walked down Avenue A one day, and this lady came and hugged me. "Oh, where have you been?" I said, "Well, not here." And she goes, "You know what today is?" I said, "I think Wednesday." She goes, "No, this is the 30th anniversary of us starting the credit union." I said, "Oh."
Aw.
And she goes, "We're gonna have a big party. You gotta come," because I was like one of the 8 who started. I said, "Well, okay, that sounds good. Are we gonna have cake?" And she goes, "Oh yeah, there's gonna be cake." And she goes, "Guess how much money's in the bank?" I said, "I don't know." She said, $1 billion with a B. And she said, "And it's not in the vault. It's in these people's businesses and the kids who went to college. We sent 3,000 kids to college and didn't charge them a nickel."
Wow.
And this is what homeless people did.
Right. Yeah, that's a huge story. I'm going to tell one of the newer guys I've met in in the Black community. His name is David Burnett, and I got myself a little bit in trouble because I thought they were on the same page. Anyway,
You can give my email to anyone you want to. And if they come and, contact me, I will contact them. If they want to give me their phone number, I'll call them and we can have a conversation.
Right.
And I can, even from here, I can do a lot of influence. Right?
Yeah. Well, your story examples, are huge, and can really open up somebody's eyes beyond their limited way of realizing what to do.
They just have to suspend their disbelief. And that's why I took pictures of everything. I mean, I don't just have the stories, I have the photographs.
Yeah. Well, and you could always get one of these grants for Art Matters Injustice. They're only like $3,000 or so. If you're in Roanoke, or I don't know if you can do it if you're outside of Roanoke or not, but
well, I could do it via Roanoke, via the internet. I mean, we'd set up. I would love, I can't do it all by myself, but I would love it if somebody wanted to do it with me who was in Roanoke, that we could set up a website that we wouldn't just tell my stories and show my pictures, but we would show others, because a lot of that guy Red, I still don't know if anyone's tracked down his library. I just, he had so much history. I just hope someone had saved that. But the other people were doing it too, so it's not like he's the only one. So
yeah, and they're probably giving up in their homes going, "Damn, these stupid people," and they really need you to bring them out. Ricardo Valdivieso for one.
So I'm up for it. I
American
mean,
experience.
like I said, you find me some person who's knowledgeable, some young person who, So what we did in New York, we did because we were artists and we were doing that stuff anyway, and we wanted to do stuff, and so we did it. We never asked anybody's permission. We just went off and did stuff, right? And then people started to notice what we were doing, and then rich people who had vision, who saw their business opportunity, said, "Hey, let us kind of down low give you money and support you and move towards this." And that's how we kind of did the Soho thing in the late 60s. And there's always people like that around that you can get them to be their better self. And that's another thing that I talk to.
That's the key, as to what because there's some good young people around doing like the gardening, food security kind of stuff.
Yep.
But they're mostly white males. I mean, even if they're gay, seems to have this, overly educated hierarchy. I know what's best
Right.
kind of attitude, and so they end up hurting some of the little people who want to get involved, but they decided to, move this resource over to this and move this tree from this garden over to
Right.
that garden, and they didn't realize how painful
That
and
was.
betraying it felt to the other people as a betrayal.
Right. Well, those guys,
Right?
was that garden on 10th or 11th Street on the other side of Orange, going towards the airport? A big scant of,
Lick Run.
Right.
Those are the academically trained,
right,
educated people, right?
right. And I saw
yeah.
them do that all the time, and it would go against common sense because they saw it in the textbook or whatever their, reason for doing something, but they did not have, I'm doing the right thing. So I'm, and if it
Well,
was,
but they do think they still think they're doing the right thing.
right,
And they are courageous and bold and using their privilege to connect to the government and demand new things for the people, which is good. I'm just having a moment now as far as seeing little people who they want to get involved and actually are now, saying out loud, not saying, you're just fucking using me to be the one black person on your team. Or, you decided to move that tree from our garden in Northwest over out to, the big garden with the white people. Just little things that add up. That's why I'm saying we need this counter group amongst the white leaders, organized activists, to replay some of these things. Because some of them, like one faith leader, dude that has a lot of influence that people go to because they just assume he should be gone to, hasn't cleared the air from the past. And I'm pissed. And when I have tried, and I'm not a professional conflict resolution communicator type person. I take the trainings, I try, but my emotions still get in the way, and my confusion of looking at a mature faith leader, activist who I've done this and I've done that and I've done this. And I don't think that was right. Coming to terms with your privilege yet? I mean, they haven't said it like that.
right,
I want to say.
right. But again, those are almost like buzzwords of I try never to, talk in code words. I just try to talk to I talk to. It's the other thing I try not to do. I try not to embarrass anyone while there are other people around. I just talk to people one-on-one and go to the issues where it's just me and them, and I'm not blaming or showing that I'm superior. They're on the bottom. It's it's what it is, and right, and that's also what someone would call passive aggressive. Yes. Right. Well, the other thing, you've done this forever. You have to start rewinding your tapes and just, exercising your experience with yourself. Because a lot of times we do things with And that's why that's one of my creative. I don't get involved in this learn something. I really try to force myself. What can I learn from this stupid thing I just did? And and because we have a tendency, like I said, we're all very susceptible to just become free with our stupidity. So that's kind of where it is, and you're doing great, and I'm always here for you to rant at, and I'm, like I said, I'd be glad to help facilitate from far away something of gathering stories and images and motivations to think outside the box, and that may be a good thing for it. And I'd be happy. I love everyone in Roanoke. I have a lot of connects there. And I can still, but with the cost of gas, man, it used to cost me $30, $40 to get there and $30, $40 to get there. That's $100. And right. Well, turn them on to me, because right. Right. Yeah.